Hi, it is April 22nd, Earth Day. I hope you guys are staying healthy and dry and sane. Um, Looking at the syllabus, it says that we are talking about signal processing today. Well, I'm actually going to let John Hess talk about signal processing. And I do have a PowerPoint for you guys to take a look at. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to show you a little signal processing that I'm doing myself on the short film that I'm working on. Your commercial is due today, so hopefully you have been able to upload those or send me a link or whatever it is that you need to do. And let me know if you need more time, okay? Because I get it that for some of you who are working outside of the home or you're working in the home with a bunch of little babies running around, you might need an extension. So you need to give me a call or send me an email and let me know. By the way, speaking of calls, I love it when you guys give me a call on my virtual office hour Zoom chat. I love connecting with you guys and just seeing how you're doing. So even if you don't have anything to say to me exactly, just say hi. I really like that. I'm almost done grading everyone's sound effects videos. I've been super proud of y'all. You've been doing a great job. Would caution you, I know that we have not really discussed mixing too much, but pick if you haven't finished it yet, which you should have already, and going forward into your podcasts especially, I would like you guys to pay attention to the actual sound effect that you choose. Make sure it's appropriate. And also the mix. Like I said, we really haven't discussed mixing yet. I'm going to get a little more into that. I might touch on it a little bit today. I'll get into more of it next week because you're really going to have to know this, at least on a basic level. What we're talking about here is taking the amplitude levels of each particular audio clip that you have and bringing it down or up. And it's all about signal processing as well. Like the music isn't too loud for the voice, or the sound effect can be heard over the music, or these levels. You got to mix it properly in order to be able to hear everything in the way that you want to hear them. Pay attention to the sound effect and make sure that it is appropriate for whatever it is that you're trying to use. Make sure it actually sounds like what it's supposed to sound like. Even though it may say footsteps on gravel, doesn't necessarily mean it actually sounds like footsteps on gravel. It could sound like they're walking on plastic or something. I actually have found footsteps of people walking on snow that sounds more like gravel than what you would think. The mixing, that has to do with the amplitude levels of each particular audio clip. If one is too loud, it overwhelms the other one. If one is not loud enough, it's not going to have any type of effect on your video or in your story. So watch your levels, watch your effects. Okay, so let me show you where I've got everything. Okay. Okay, so if you look over here on eCampus, oops, look here on eCampus, in our discussion board, I do have signal processing or script writing. I know that your syllabus says and script writing, but I'm not going to be that way. You're going to talk to me about either or, and it's outlined right here. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. That's due next week. Videos to watch. Post-production sound is what I've named it. It is a John Hess video. You've watched him before with Filmmaker IQ. He discusses signal processing and post-production sound. And in the PowerPoints here, signal processing. I've given you a PowerPoint on signal processing. Actually, it's a PDF. If we were on campus, I would be having this up on the screen and discussing minute points of it, but in this format, I'm afraid it may be deadly boring, and I just really don't want to do that to either of us. So it's there. It does have some great tips, and if you notice in your discussion, I've asked you to, one of your options is to highlight two particular types of signal processing and discuss either in John Hess's video or in the PowerPoint slash PDF that I've given you. You can give me an example of how and when you would use them. Just because it is kind of dry material, try to remember that you will be using these in your podcast to help create the actual sounds that you want. Yes, of course, you can go on to the sound effects library. You can pull down the appropriate effects that you need, but they may not work exactly. I mean, don't just leave them alone and throw them on your timeline and say, okay, I'm done. That's not how this works. So let me show you. Currently, I'm working on Tasha's Cherry Bear. Some of you may or may not have seen some videos that I've posted about applying the sound effects that I have found on the sound library into this film. What I'm working on right now is a particular scene here where our protagonist is in the car and he's trying to call his wife and his young daughter and let them know that he is on his way. What he doesn't know is that he is now in another realm, and so I have to communicate that somehow to my audience that something isn't quite right. I mean, if the fact that he just stole a teddy bear out of a graveyard isn't enough of a clue, he is now in his car and he is trying to talk to them. So I'm going to play this first real quick for you. And I haven't done any, well, I've done just a little bit. You can see right there, there's that little thing that says FX. I haven't done any signal processing. So we're just going to hear it as is.
Hello?
You did this.
Baby girl, are you there?
Is Daddy still coming?
I have your favorite bear. Carla!
Okay, so doesn't sound quite right at all, does it? It's kind of what's going on here. Okay, first of all, I just want to point out that the audio from the camera, which is here, has been completely taken out. I obviously needed it to help sync the audio that was recorded off of the 702, which is in the green. The sound effects are also in green, but the camera audio here is in blue, and it has been, I didn't delete it, but I took it out of the picture. I basically minus 90 decibels. So how I did that was I just right clicked on it. You can see it's highlighted. I went to audio gain and I just punched in minus 90 and hit OK. And then the sound wave just disappeared. Okay, I did that because I don't need the camera audio. So here is his dialogue. Here is the, let me see if I can. Yeah, that's a sound effect that I pulled off the sound library, that it has that suspension noise happening. It's got some road noise because there is a little bit with the dialogue, but not as much as I want. It's just kind of, you know, this is the dialogue. Cut. You can hear me say cut. Wait, let's go back to the beginning.
Baby girl, are you there?
So we still have some road noise. You can see that right there, and that's okay. Combined with the other one, combined with this one, you can see it's much lower. Together, it's okay. It sounds real.
I have your favorite bear.
If you take it. Anyway, I think you get my point. Okay, so what then is this? This is something that I found on the sound effects library, and it's just kind of up here it says radio static soft fuzz sustained whine. It's to give the impression that the phone call is It's not coming through very well. So I put that there. And now down here, if you can see, I'll make this bigger. I've got this, 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 and this. This, it didn't, what's going on? Oh. Okay. That is the phone that I got off. This is, ooh, that is like a static. See, this is NASA's static burst because I want it to ring and then I want it to make a noise where he's like, "Hello." That's because in the dialogue, that's what he does. So I want to I want to motivate that. I want to motivate that hello. And I feel like if it rings and then it gives some sort of like it's cut off or whatever, it's making an odd noise. It kind of sounds like somebody answered the phone. That will motivate him going, hello. So,
Hello?
okay, now remember what I said in this story, he's no longer in this realm. Okay, so he's trying to speak to people who are in the other realm. So nothing that is being said, I mean, it kind of makes sense to him, but it doesn't. For example, you did this. What? And the question from the little girl, is Daddy coming? All this makes sense within the narrative, but okay, they're not actually talking to each other. This is just things he's hearing. And then it disappears here, which I think actually does kind of already sound like it's on the phone. So what I'm going to do is this. First of all, these are too loud.
Hello?
You did this.
Baby girl, you there?
Is Daddy still coming?
They're too present is a word that I'm going to use. And the vocabulary here when you're speaking of sounds and sound effects and the effect that the sound effect has, speaking in terms like they're too close or they're too present, these are totally acceptable terms to use. Whatever helps describe it to you and to yourself. To you and me. Okay. All right, so what am I going to do then? Well, these are all okay. They're pretty much okay. I'm not going to mess with them, but I do want, because they're on the phone, I want them to sound like a phone. And how do we do that? Well, we apply EQ. But that's not the only thing I want to do. So, first of all, I'm going to highlight these. Hopefully you can see that. I'm highlighting that. And then I'm going to right click on it with my mouse. And this comes up, and I'm going to go edit clip in Adobe Audition. Now, I get it that with your podcast, you're probably working strictly in Audition, and that's fine. But for some of you who really want to get into this, and I really, really hope you do, you're probably doing video and audio at the same time. And remember, I've told you, these two work seamlessly with each other. So, excuse me for a moment. Okay, so what do I got over here? This is now Audition. All of this is Audition on top of Premiere. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. Over here in this window right here is my media bin or my media browser. I'm just going to kind of make it a little bigger so you can see it. These are all the clips. These are the 6 clips that I highlighted over here in Premiere. Okay, so I'm going to bring this, let's just make this bigger so it doesn't freak you out. Okay, so this is my first one, my phone. Okay, and then I actually got 2 of those, but I'm just going to go ahead and add. We want it to sound like it's on a phone. So how do you do that? You add EQ. This FFT filter, which when you listen to the John Hess video, he discusses this particular one. But let's go in here. Telephone receiver. See how that moved? So what it's doing here is it's cutting out all the low and cutting out all the high and boosting the mids. So maybe, I don't know. You can tweak it. kind of like that a little better. So I'm going to apply that. Okay. And I'm going to do the same to this one. Okay. Okay. So right there, I just did signal processing. If you haven't figured it out already, anytime you adjust the signal, the amplitude, the frequency response, anything like that, you add reverb, all that good stuff, that is signal processing at its most basic. Okay, so I've got those two. They're sounding okay. Let's go into NASA. That's pretty intense, right? So let's go ahead and apply that. Yeah, I like it. Maybe. Let's bring this down just a little bit. It's a little loud. See, all of these effects come with presets, and you always want to just mess with them. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to apply that. If you notice over here in Audition, you've got these little stars. That means that these files have been altered, but they have not been saved. So I haven't saved any of these yet because I want to make sure that I'm doing what I want to do. Anyway, so we'll do this. Now, full disclosure, I think I added something to that already yesterday or whatever. So it kind of sounds all right. But let's go in. No, I kind of like it the way it was. Okay. Okay, so no changes there.
You did this.
She needs to sound like she's on the phone. But I want more than that. I don't want just that she's on the phone. So what would I do here? EQ will put her on the phone, but I also want to add reverb. Reverb because I want to kind of sound like this otherworldly, where it's kind of spooky thing. So let's try that, shall we? Let's put on some reverb. Now, I discussed this in the PowerPoint. There's a multitude of different reverbs and what they are. But if you remember in our discussions about how sound behaves, reverb is just a multiple random blended of these frequencies, right? Well, these are algorithms that are actually going to apply that to your sound wave. So I think I've got a better idea. Reverse. Ooh, okay. And then reverb. Full reverb. Pops up like this. You're like, wait, I can't even understand what she's saying. I know, you're not supposed to. Hold on. I'm going to apply this, and then I'm going to reverse it again.
You did this. You did this. You did this.
I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to apply this. Ooh, it's too low. You gotta at least be able to hear it, right? Ooh. Let's bring those over a little bit. I think the lower... Maybe not quite so high. Bring it down. Okay, so what happens when I'm lowering the amplitude on the upper frequencies, it becomes muddy. which is something that John Hess talks about, and also I believe I cover it in the PDF, signal processing PDF. But without the higher frequencies, you don't have a lot of presence in in the audio. So as you saw, I just kind of boosted the upper frequencies, and her voice comes back. See, but if I was to turn it down, it becomes muddy, right? So I'm going to just go back and increase that again, and I'm going to apply it. Okay. So
Is Daddy still coming?
So what did we do before? We went into effects, we did reverse, we did reverb, we did full reverb, we applied church. And you'll notice how much down the amplitude goes. Let me go ahead and reverse it back. Yes.
Is Daddy still coming? Is Daddy still coming?
I like it. You can see right here where her frequency range is and her voice, so that's what you want to guide you. Let's bring that up a little bit more. So I like it higher because her voice is really low. Let's bring that up a little bit too. That's still kind of low. But I think that'll work. Okay, so I've made these changes in Audition. How do I get them back into Premiere? Well, that trick. You just save. And you notice the little asterisk went away. You just click on each one. You can do it as long as you're happy with it. Oops. You gotta double click it. I didn't change that one, so as I'm saving them, the asterisk goes away. And super cool, when I go back over into Premiere,
Hello? Baby girl, are you there?
Is Daddy still coming?
I have your favorite bear. Carla!
I'm sorry, just geek out over stuff like that. Okay, so that is signal processing in action. Okay, so if you want to understand the theory behind signal processing and understand the various ways you would apply it and why and in what order, because there is a particular order you need to do these in, because one affects the other. And you might notice that when you're applying something to a signal, you can boost the amplitude of it. That a particular effect can literally boost the amplitude, and the output amplitude could be much higher than the input amplitude. So you really need to watch that. Definitely listen. Next week, I know we talk about there's the reading and everything. It has to do with etiquette, set etiquette, and that sort of thing, which is great. Me talk about that more, but I really want to talk about mixing. I don't want to get into it today, but mixing, like I said before, has to do with the various relationship of the amplitude levels of each audio clip within the mix itself, and it's extremely important. So we will talk about that more next week. All right, that's all I got. So stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned.